everyone, this is Judy with JLBCrafts. Welcome back to my channel. If you're returning, thank you for coming back. And if you're new here, thank you so much for giving me a try. Today I want to do a flip through of my recipe planner. I want to tell you that every recipe you're going to see is a keto recipe, but this flip through isn't about keto. This is about recipe planning. So I have a lot of recipes to go through. About a year ago, I started posting 2 recipes a week, and I stopped. I took a break from that because, number one, it was too much to keep up with developing, planning, and posting 2 recipes a week. The other reason is that in the summer, I don't cook hot things as much. I stick to more wraps and sandwiches and salads, and there just isn't a lot of recipe planning to do. I do want to get back to recipe planning again, but I haven't quite gotten there yet. So leave me a comment if you'd like to see more recipe planning after you've had a chance to go through this video. So the first thing I want to talk about is making your recipe planner your own. So here is the most recent recipe planner from the Happy Planner, and you can see I've changed a couple of the tabs, and the reason I did that is if I have the recipe in this recipe planner, it's a favorite. So everything in here is a favorite. I don't have anything specifically that I would put in the favorites category. Main dishes definitely make sense. Small dishes definitely make sense. Soups and salads, definitely. The other one that I changed is healthy fare. I've relabeled that to say side dishes. And the reason, again, is I've been keto since 2015. Everything in my recipe book is a keto recipe. So to me, everything in here is healthy. There was nothing I could think of that I wanted to specifically put under this tab. Breakfast, dessert, miscellaneous. So let's go ahead and look at the recipes I actually have planned. And I'll try to pause with my hands out of the way on every recipe so that you can grab a screenshot. I have some tabs here in case I make some changes to a recipe. I can make note of that. I just used some letters to put my name in. You can see some kind of dirt and splotches, so I definitely use this cookbook. I actually have a big heavy metal iPad stand that I keep in my kitchen on top of my refrigerator that this sits on to try to keep the splatting to a minimum. The other thing I have filled in here, other notes, I did some, as you can see, keto sweetener conversions. You can put anything in here for reference. I love the reference material. Okay, so entertaining. These are recipes that I would make, for example, for New Year's Eve or a party. I don't throw very many parties, but these are the kinds of things I would do. Lots of dips in here as well. Potluck kind of recipes. Roasted garlic dip. This one's super yummy. It's got a lot of steps, but I don't know about you. I find cooking very therapeutic. I love to cook. So the more complicated the recipe, the better. This onion dip from scratch is fantastic. If you buy the French onion dip in the tub, try this recipe. This pimento cheese spread is based on a southern recipe. I find a lot of my recipes on Pinterest, and when you do find a recipe you love on Pinterest, at least for me, I don't have ways to add my own notes. I don't have ways to remember if I have 6 holiday cranberry pecan cheese ball recipes, which one was the one that I really loved. And then also I have in here just recipes that pretty much are all my own. So that's it for entertaining. I have a few more pages I can fill out. Main dishes. And this is a great way to capture recipes. I actually got this from a friend through text messages, and this was a great way to keep it and keep a little note to myself about it. Butter chicken, pink Alfredo. So you can see I've gone recipes that have extensive directions. I don't have as much decor. Recipes that are pretty short. I had fun with colorful boxes and bullet points. Lots of fun recipes. I also, you're probably noticing, try to pick a color story, a color theme for my recipes. Got blank space on the back of this page. I did not do that on purpose. Probably wanted to put a different seafood recipe on the back of this since it's crab cakes. This one's great if you like Cuban sandwiches. Try this casserole, it's excellent. Egg roll in a bowl. So you can see again, egg roll in a bowl is a decidedly Chinese flavored recipe. So I kept a Chinese recipe on the back. Again, same with Mongolian beef. And here I used my little printer for that. It's a Canon Selfie. And you can fit 4 to 6 little pictures on one of those. And I just cut it out, mounted it on a piece of paper, and then mounted so it looks framed, and then mounted that in my recipe book. Again, I've saved space to try to keep another Chinese recipe on the back of that one. This one, you can get seasonal. This one's a fun one that I make for St. Patrick's Day. So I used my shamrocks as bullet points. Little ones and big ones, really fun. And then Reuben casserole. And actually I'm wondering if I spelled Reuben wrong. So speaking of, for these recipes, I prefer to use a Frixion pen because there's a lot of writing. And if you make a mistake, I don't want a bunch of whiteout in here. So I use the erasable Frixion pens. All right, small dishes. So for example, pot stickers, and this one is such an involved recipe that and you can put different fillings inside these. So this is the one I use for pork pot stickers, and since I am keto I can't buy the wraps for those, so here is the separate recipe then for the outside, the wrap for that. Smoked wings. Oh, and I got a post-it note. So my post-it notes, just in case you're wondering, actually represent recipes that I wrote but never got around to posting on Instagram. Grilled mushrooms, so yummy. Here's some washi tape making an appearance. Rumaki. This is actually water chestnuts wrapped in bacon. I make this every year for New Year's. I have since I was a little kid. Love this one. Crab stuffed mushrooms, another favorite for New Year's. Sauerkraut balls, again, one that my mom made when I was a little kid. Of course, I hadn't heard of keto back then, so this is the result of adjusting that recipe to be keto. These are from the food sticker book. They're actually the tips of corn dogs that I chopped off and made round so that they'd look like little sauerkraut balls. And that's it for small dishes. Soups and salads. So I grew up in northern Ohio, and we have something called Skyline chili there. It's very regional, and I miss it. I live in Seattle now, and you can't get it around here. But I tell you what, this recipe makes an amazing interpretation. Tastes almost exactly the same, probably because I haven't eaten the original in many, many years. This definitely scratches the itch when I'm craving Skyline chili. And again, I've got a little note here. My sister actually found this recipe and sent it my way. Cauliflower curry soup, another yummy one. Keto clam chowder. So again, keto, we don't eat potatoes, so I had to adapt a traditional clam chowder recipe. And I tell you what, you can't hardly tell the difference. The cauliflower is in there. Here's a cool weather one, Asian cucumber salad. There's nothing under there. You can see my note here, Asian recipe here. So again, I try to, if I get to the point where this recipe book is full, and I am actually getting there in some of the sections, and I want to branch out and start additional recipe books. If I have all my Asian recipes back to back, if I have all my seafood recipes back to back, then it makes it much easier to reorganize my recipe books, and it gives me more options as far as, you know, do I have all Asian cuisine in a recipe book? Do I have all desserts in a recipe book? That kind of thing. So this one I have labeled side dishes, and you'll see why. So cauliflower mushroom risotto, we actually eat that as a main dish because sometimes I put shrimp or kielbasa or something in that. But it technically would be considered, I think, a side dish in my mind. Shrimp fried rice, again, could be a side dish, could be a main dish, just depends. Creamy garlic mushrooms, definitely a side dish, something you would have, in my opinion, with a steak, but again, I'm keto. And a glass of wine. Again, Alfredo mushrooms, love mushrooms with steak, love mushrooms just in general. Zucchini au gratin, a nice casserole when your zucchinis are in season. More casseroles. I have a lot of side dishes as casseroles. Mashed cauliflower. So I have a lot of holiday recipes in here because when I started recording these recipes, I did in part to present keto options for traditional holiday recipes. So mashed cauliflower is a great one. This one is so decadent, you hardly miss the potatoes. Truly, I swear. Roasted veggies, love to throw veggies in the oven and just roast them. Broccoli cheese casserole, again, I need to record my broccoli cheese soup that I make. Love to look on Etsy for veggie stickers to include just to decorate. And again, you're seeing lots of different color schemes. These are all blues and greens. I love doing the little boxes in case you couldn't tell with the little arrows. It just makes it fun. And Asian green beans. So here's one where I didn't think to myself that, hey, I should have saved the back for Asian recipes, but that's okay. I think I'm a long way from having enough Asian recipes to need to do an entire cookbook. I'm not a big breakfast eater, and when I do breakfast, they're usually not complicated recipes, so this section actually doesn't have much in it. But I do miss corned beef hash. I ate it a lot as a kid, and so this was a recipe I developed to make homemade using cauliflower instead of potatoes. And it's pretty darn good. I make it with the leftovers from the corned beef that I make on St. Patrick's Day. I look forward to making a great big corned beef so that I have lots left over and I can make something like corned beef and cauliflower hash with poached eggs over the top. I did start, so I wanted more in my breakfast section, so I did start putting keto coffee cakes in this section. Love cranberries in the fall. Can't wait till they start showing up in grocery stores. So again, a coffee cake, a keto coffee cake. So you'll see interesting notes in here about sweeteners and xanthan gums. If you'd like to know more about keto, we can do something separate on that. Just leave me a message in the comments down below. Cinnamon coffee cake. Lots of coffee cakes. My husband's a huge chocolate fan, so he actually requested a chocolate coffee cake. And that's it for breakfast. Now, when you're keto, you don't eat sugar, you don't eat flour, so it's hard to find desserts if you have a sweet tooth. So I do a lot of my own homemade desserts, and we're getting into that section. This section actually is so full that I've had to steal pages from other sections to keep going, and I do plan at some point to split out and make a separate recipe book just for desserts. Love rhubarb. My mom used to grow rhubarb when I was a kid, and so I had to come up with a couple recipes to use rhubarb when I could get my hands on some organic rhubarb at a farmer's market here locally. Cheesecake bars, yum, those are so good. Okay, I actually have made this pumpkin pie, keto pumpkin pie recipe for Thanksgiving multiple times. My husband and I love it. We don't even miss regular pumpkin pie. Same thing with the pecan pie. This one, the texture of the goo under the pecans isn't exactly right, but that's incredibly hard to reproduce. I tell you though, This one, as long as you're careful not to over bake it, really, really good. Again, just really don't even miss regular pecan pie at Thanksgiving. Okay, so again, you can see my notes. This was dry, don't cook until solid, leave wobbly. So there we go. If you want to screenshot that one. But that just shows you an example, real life example of, you know, what you can use those Post-it notes for. Butter cake. Oh, I had never heard of Kentucky butter cake. I came across the recipe on Pinterest, and this is the result, and we love it. So yummy. Again, with the cranberry orange loaf, this is different than the one we saw in the breakfast section for coffee cake, which typically has like a crumbly on top, and you can put butter on it. Love blueberries. Blueberries are actually my favorite fruit of all time, so anytime I find a yummy looking blueberry recipe, I've got to try it. Carrot cake. This is an actual cake with frosting, and you can see it's a lot to squeeze in sometimes. So you may want to do something where you have the carrot cake on the front, and then you have a separate recipe for the frosting on the back. Zucchini bread. Very, very good. If you grow zucchini, excellent recipe. And lemon zucchini bread. So I don't know how much zucchini you get, but if you end up with a lot, you might want to do some variations. Excuse me, I got hiccups. Pumpkin bread. So pumpkin pie, canned pumpkin is always so readily available in the fall that I have lots of recipes for how to use that. And again, here's another chocolate zucchini bread. Lots of zucchini bread variations. Mug cake. So if you've never heard of a mug cake, say you're home for the weekend all by yourself, your family's away, and you are jonesing for something sweet. This is literally a cake for one person. You make it in a big coffee mug, and they are so quick and easy and hot and steamy and yummy. So I actually have quite a few mug cake recipes coming up. And then ice cream base. So again, in the summer I don't like to cook. I don't like to turn on the stove and get the oven all heated up. So most of my ice cream recipes actually are not the traditional egg custard base that you cook on the stove. They're more something that you can just mix up and throw in a freezer. Or actually during Prime last year, I bought one of those frozen flat bases, and you pour the base on, and then you have your little scraper and you just mix and scrape as it thickens. Love that thing. It's like a Cold Stone Creamery slab, if you know what that is. So we've got cheesecake ice cream, and again, there's nothing hiding under here. I just used that recipe a lot this summer, so I had it marked. Butter pecan. So one thing you'll see I note in here many times is anytime you're cooking with nuts, be sure to toast them first. It really brings out the flavor. Maple walnut ice cream, pumpkin ice cream. So again, as we're heading into fall, this is another fun one. If it's not too cold for ice cream, pumpkin ice cream, very good. Okay, so now we're getting into the mug cakes, and again, I didn't quite plan this out well enough. I have ice cream on one side and a mug cake on the other. I think I didn't realize at the time that I'd be doing a whole series on mug cakes. So in the future, I probably would separate those. Pumpkin mug cake, chocolate mug cake, my husband's favorite. And again, mug cake recipes don't take a lot of space. Sometimes they have a lot of ingredients, but they don't have a lot of steps. So this is another fun one where you can really get into playing with different shapes, printing out pictures and putting them in. Strawberry mug cake, lemon mug cake. I came up with mug cakes for just about every berry I could think of. Margarita mug cake, so that's got a nice fun lime coconut flavor. Cinnamon streusel mug cake, so that's kind of a play on cinnamon buns or cinnamon coffee cake. Orange creamsicle mug cake, and then grasshopper mug cake. I actually wanted something chocolatey minty around St. Patrick's Day, so that's kind of where this one came from. Okay, now we're getting into brownies. So I have space for another mug cake recipe if I want. Now we're getting into brownies. So fudge brownies, and I actually don't prefer chocolate. So you'll see a lot of blondie recipes in here, which are my favorite. Peanut butter brownies. So in this one I had some trouble kind of explaining how you mix these two batters together. So I specifically included the picture so you could see how marbled and swirled these should look. So this is basically the same brownie batter, but in one you mix in a peanut butter batter and in the other one you mix in a cheesecake batter. And here's a bookmark that I actually made from some scrapbook paper. So here are brown butter blondies. If you've never heard of or made brown butter, you just basically cook it in a skillet until it starts to brown and caramelize and smell nutty, and that adds, again, so much flavor. Peanut butter blondies, again, like a peanut butter cookie, but in a bar that's moister. Berry cheesecake blondies, these are so good when you've got fresh berries. And you can see I had planned to do more, and just that's when I kind of got my burnout. So I can continue to work on those, especially if that seems like something you all would want. Okay, and miscellaneous. So again, I grew up on a farm. I grew up drinking homemade from scratch, I hope this doesn't gross anybody out, raw eggnog. And so this is the keto version of that recipe. Wicked hot chocolate. So this is actually, this came from Wolfgang Puck, and I made it keto. And it includes hot chili to make it wicked. That's actually what that refers to. This is the dry rub. So, and I have found this sticker because this came from Alton Brown. And he used to have a TV show called Good Eats. So I took his recipe, I have adjusted it. It was too salty for me, so I've changed a couple things, which is part of the reason why I included it in this cookbook. I dabble and change a lot, and I needed a way to keep track of what I decided was the best for me. Turkey brine. Again, I brine my turkey every year for Thanksgiving. Highly recommended if you've never tried it. Your turkey will be so juicy without basting, and it will cook so much faster because you're not opening the oven over and over to baste on a regular basis. Toom, this is I want to say Middle Eastern. It's actually an emulsified butter garlic spread that we found at a farmer's market, and I of course had to look up my own way to make it. Roasted garlic. Pot sticker sauce. So earlier you saw the recipe for the inside of the pot stickers and the wrapper for the pot stickers. This is a dipping sauce that I like to make. And so again, it's a dipping sauce. I felt like it needed to go in miscellaneous. Asian recipe again. I've made my little note to myself. Deep fry batter. When you're keto, you need to do a special kind of batter because you can't just use rice flour like tempura or regular white all-purpose flour. Tartar sauce on the back of the deep fry batter because I did use that to make fish and chips, not potato chips. Cheddar Bay biscuits. I actually worked at Red Lobster in college and loved the Cheddar Bay biscuits, and this is a keto version. It goes great with the keto clam chowder. Keto pie dough. So again, if I can find something like a pumpkin pie or just any kind of pie and I can adjust the inside, here I have my separate pie dough recipe. Cranberry relish. This is the keto version that I make at Thanksgiving. I've made it for years. It's really easy to make that in a keto version. Keto Buckeyes. I grew up in Ohio, I think I mentioned. I went to Ohio State. Peanut butter balls dipped in chocolate. Very keto. Think Reese's peanut butter cup kind of flavor. This is a keto version of that. I'll be making them soon for Halloween. And I do make my own homemade barbecue sauce when I smoke. I actually just kind of add things to the pan until it tastes right. One of these days I'm actually going to make it and try to measure and actually record what I do with that. And teriyaki sauce, that is on my to-do list. I haven't started working on that one. Then I've just, in the back here, I've got a little folder so that if I clip a recipe out of a magazine, or somebody emails it to me, or for things in development, I like to keep that in the back. And that is it. So I hope you liked this video. I hope this inspires you to try doing some recipe planning. If you'd like me to start posting some actual plan with me's of recipe plans, if you'd like me to do that, please leave that request in the comments down below. I probably will start doing it again anyway, maybe one every week or two, or one a month. But you know, if this is something you all would really, really like to see, then just leave me a message, and that definitely would encourage the process. So thank you again. If you did like this video, please consider liking and subscribing.